Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to the first episode of the currently unnamed podcast, where a bunch of us just hang around, chat a bit about Xbox games, bit about movies, bit about TVs, and more, really. My name's Craig, aka Indiana Bond, and joining me today, I have Ratley.
Hello.
Hello, mate. You all right?
I thought I was going to get my gamer tag and everything, which went, it's Ratley. I was like, what?
Well, I thought maybe you might want to add that in.
I thought you were waiting for him to call you Chris.
I was hoping for it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So
just mix it up and just call you like Dave or something.
Yeah. I mean,
and then the other two people you just heard speaking, that's Phil, aka Speedfreakphil. Hello, Phil.
Ahoy, hoy.
Hello, mate.
The internet. Good, thank you.
And the other person you heard speaking was Alan, aka Longfangs.
Sup?
What's up, my boy?
I'm doing fine, my friend. I'm doing fine. And hello, the internet. And I just want to put a vote in at this point and say, I think this podcast should be called the Unnamed Podcast moving forward.
I think it's possibly a good idea, mate, because we certainly can't come up with a name yet. But who knows, if anybody actually listens to this on the internet, maybe they could come up with a name and get in contact with us. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll put an email address at the end or something. But let's be honest, we are talking, as Ratley put it, into the void initially and maybe to people we know. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, moving on a bit. I think really just in this week's episode, or this first week's episode, we're going to go through a bit of introductions for everyone. So, because obviously nobody knows anybody out there, knows the people on the podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about what we're playing and then, have a few talking points and maybe go through the news. So, to start off with, I think I'm going to go to Ratley, aka Ratsta, and just ask you a couple of questions, mate, so people can get to know you. So, what we want to know a bit about yourself, what your favourite game is, what your favourite movie is, and what your favourite TV show is. Tough questions.
Well, I mean, a bit about myself. You don't want to know anything about me. I'm boring. But let's talk about like favourite game. Like it's got to be. It's a bit of a cheat, but it's got to be a series of games, really, because you can't just have one without the other two, which is Mass Effect. It was just a game that just hit me hard, and then the second one came along and was like, oh, and then the third one was like, oh, it was just such a good series of games. I have Mass Effect tattoos. Mass Effect changed not just the way I think about games, but the way I think about how media is portrayed and characters and stuff like that. It's a literal masterpiece in storytelling and character development. So, that is like my top game, if you like. If I was really pushed on one. Oh, that's a really tough call, but I'd probably say 2 is the best all-rounder. It doesn't really put a foot wrong. And as I say, the end mission in the number 2 is probably better than a lot of games I've played in total. So a lot of love for the Mass Effect series. In terms of movies, again, a little bit of a cop-out, but it's really tough to choose between them. It's got to be Alien, probably as my all-time favourite. But Aliens is a far more watchable movie. So bizarrely, I've seen Aliens way more. Now, I don't know what you guys make of that, but I think that's a fair comment,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you're wrong. It's definitely Aliens is the better
I kind of really wish we'd invited you to my 50th birthday screening of Aliens the other day, Chris. Sorry.
Craig told me about it before we started recording, and I'm sad. I'm a sad. But I'll let you off. I'll let you off.
Next year.
Aliens is a film.
Well, next year when we screen Aliens again.
Yeah.
Mate, I can sit down and watch Aliens any day of the week. I'm like, oh, Aliens, you say? Cool. This is only my 100th time watching it or something silly, but yeah, cool. I'm down. And then going to TV shows. Favorite TV show. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I love, but one thing that really has hit with me and lived with me for ages is the reimagining of Battlestar Galactica. It is a powerful show and incredibly well acted, incredibly well written, incredibly well.
Good choice.
Everything about that series just leaves me like I've got goosebumps thinking about bits of it right now. It's a show which I don't know. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it, and if you have seen it, you probably need to see it again.
I don't want to make you jealous, Ratley, but I went to a comic convention about 3 years ago and I met Edward James Olmos and Jamie Bamber at the time. It was freaking awesome.
Yeah, I hate you more. Fracking awesome, even.
Fracking awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd love to shake them by the hand and say, thank you very much. That was a absolute masterpiece of like everything, and like it's a thing that gets you thinking, which I like about it. People do, it does lead you there. You go, wow, that's a heavy episode, or I didn't think of that like that. It's a very, very smart show. So yeah, that's me. Like, that's the things I love.
Good stuff. Great. No, that's awesome. Thanks, mate. Well, I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with you on your game and movie. Fantastic. The TV show, I know we've had conversations about it before. I do struggle with that TV show, and I do need to get stuck into it. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those things. I will do it one day. I'll get stuck in. I promise.
You won't regret it.
Watching that.
It's an experience. It really is. Like, there are episodes which were relevant when they were shot, which are possibly more relevant today, just on what they talk about. And I think this is. Well, I've always said this about great science fiction stays relevant pretty much forever because it's really talking about human nature as opposed to telling you a story about aliens. Yeah. That's not to knock story about aliens, obviously, but really fantastic science fiction, especially in TV series form, has talking points in it. It's allegorical.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was a lovely word to finish that section.
Big word. I hope we're not going to be expected to use big words like that all the time.
No, don't worry. Don't worry.
Out, sir.
I'm just firing up my digital thesaurus.
I'm not even technically sure I used the word correctly, but
Again, if anybody listens to this, I'm sure they'll correct you if you didn't. Cool, brilliant stuff. No, thanks for that, mate. Right, so I'll move on next. We'll touch base with Speedfreakphil.
Oh, okay.
Hello, mate.
Are you going to swap the order around? No, cool. That's cool. So, tell you a bit about myself. Much like everybody here, I very much enjoy my gaming, and I spend far too much time doing it. And that's really the limit of it, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I mean, I'm sat in my bedroom with a huge TV and a reclining chair, chatting with you guys. Life is good.
Nice.
So I think next up, you wanted a favourite game, I believe, didn't you?
Yes, please, mate, yeah.
Now, I thought long and hard about this, because if I think about the game that I've spent the most amount of time playing, it's possibly not my favourite game, because that would be like Final Fantasy XIV, because I've spent thousands of hours playing that game, and I loved that game. But if I think about probably my favourite game, I think the one that always springs to mind for me is the Knights of the Old Republic series, and probably the first game if I had to choose. The second one definitely plays better, and they refined it, but the first one, the story's better, and I just really enjoyed kind of the characters in that, and they had some great kind of interactions between the characters and stuff, and that really much like with as Ratley just said, it's like it changed the way I perceived like how video games tell a story. There was very linear up until that point, and I really enjoyed that.
BioWare really knocked it out of the park with that game.
Yeah,
definitely.
Man,
they did. That was feels like that was their peak. Certainly based on current.
they seem to be going downhill a lot since then. Yeah,
I'll fight you on the peak of BioWare being Knights with Mass Effect, but fisticuffs up.
Oh no, a fight's breaking out already.
Oh dear. Now, favourite all-time movie. Oh, do you know what? Again, I thought long and hard, and one thing always comes back to this: the first Predator movie. Love that movie. Love the first Predator movie. Oh, just excites me thinking about watching that again.
No, not too much hope.
Well,
he's loaded in his bedroom,
you can edit these bits out, right?
Anything could happen.
You hear the door close and the mic suddenly goes quiet. I've thought about Predator too much.
And there comes the 18 certificate rating.
Excellent. Now, you wanted a favourite TV show, didn't you?
Yes,
now,
please.
The problem with favourite TV shows is they keep changing as new things come out. So, like, I had my favourites, but then I finished watching Sons of Anarchy, and currently, like, that's the one that's it for me. I mean, that is just an absolute roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't stop. I started, and I kept going, and then something happened. I was like, oh my God. And then something worse happened. I was like, oh my God. And then something even worse happened, and then Gemma killed somebody. I was like, oh my God.
Shh. Don't give away the plot, man.
Spoilers.
Sorry,
Mark spoilers now, man.
Yeah, I suppose really I've just spoiled the whole series, the whole theory of everything, yeah, but you know what I mean?
Well done, Phil.
Anybody listening to this podcast does not need to watch it now.
Yeah, pretend I was swearing and just bleep it out. You can just do, oh my God, bleep, oh my God, bleep. Yeah, you get the idea anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got loads of time, mate, for bleeping stuff out. Don't worry about it. I don't have a full-time job or anything, don't worry.
Exactly. I mean, you got time to organise this.
Great stuff. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Phil. And that brings us to Mr. Alan Longfangs Howleet. How you doing, mate?
Last but not least, okay, so how am I going to top all that? Well, I mean, I'm going to give a little bit more backstory than everybody else has, and I might have already mentioned it, but it was my 50th birthday last week, so that means I know, right? Thank you very much. I reached the half century, and that means that I've probably been gaming for about let's just see, I must have been 11 or 12 when my father first bought home a ZX Spectrum with, remember those little rubber keys? And I used to,
Spectrum.
yeah,
Respect the
yeah.
Spectrum.
Yeah, the very first one didn't even have a disc drive or anything attached. It had a tape recorder, when it was loading. Absolute classic. Yeah, and that must have been, so that's, if you do the math, we're talking about 38 years of gaming there. So that's it's been a while, and I've had pretty much every console. I think I only really missed out, and I'm ashamed to admit this, on the N64 era, because I was too busy at college trying to get a job and get some skills. So I know I actually did work at college, and I didn't end up getting drunk all the time and playing computer games, so I did it the wrong way. But
Feels like you failed at college there.
well, clearly I did. But so I missed out on that generation. But I did have an Amstrad and an Amiga, and then when the new generation came out, I jumped on board and I bought a PlayStation. And then when the Xbox came out, I bought the Xbox, and I've pretty much been an Xboxer, if you like, ever since then. So I've had every Xbox that's come out, and I will be buying the Series X, which we'll be talking about. Favorite was it favorite movie first?
Favorite game?
Well, you can do whichever you like. Got favourite game, favourite movie, or favourite TV show?
Favourite game. Let's start with that one, because that's such an easy one. I mean, easy in the sense that it's the game that I have been obsessed with for the better part of how many years, Craig? 3, 4 years?
A long time.
Yeah, and it kind of comes and goes, but it never goes away. And if I look at the amount of hours I've spent on a game, I've spent over 1,600 hours on this game, which by some people's standards is not a lot, but by mine is quite a lot, and that is Ark Survival Evolved. If there's one thing I love doing, it's building stuff. And Ark definitely allows you to do that. You can build some awesome stuff. So I spend a lot of my time. My wife has to sit here listening to me in the games room, listening to me chop down hundreds of trees and mine loads of rocks just so I can build another house. And tame dinosaurs. I mean, what's not to like? You can tame a T-Rex, wander around and roar at people. I'm sorry, but that is cool. And you cannot beat that. That's better than Mass Effect. That's better than KOTOR. I can get myself a raptor and go and eat people.
It's pretty special.
Tell me that's not cool.
It's pretty special, I'm not going to lie.
I mean,
yeah, come on.
Definitely some concerns I have about seeing you in real life now, and where my body may be buried after you set the dog on me or something like that. But
don't worry, Phil, it'll be somewhere very damp.
Okay, don't bury me shallow, mate. You don't want me coming back.
Don't worry, I won't. Moving on to favourite movie. So it's a bit of a cheat, this, because it's not one movie, it's a trilogy, and it's Lord of the Rings. I've been a massive Lord of the Rings fan since I was young. I've read the book countless times, and when I think I was working in a baker's oven at the time, and I heard basically from the baker there they were making a film of Lord of the Rings, and I was like, that's never going to happen. It's impossible. You can't make it into a film. And Peter Jackson did the unbelievable. He created, don't get me wrong, he's made changes. Some are good, some are bad. But overall, I mean, I've got the special edition, so it's about nearly 12 hours long. So you have to really plan if you're going to watch it. You can't just sit down for one sitting. So you kind of have to watch it over a couple of days. But I watch it over and over again. I absolutely love the movies, and it fulfilled all of my dreams about what I imagined the Lord of the Rings books would be like in film format. So I absolutely love those films.
Great answer, mate.
Yeah, it's
Great
a tough
answer.
one to beat. It really is. I mean, I have, like you, I read them as a kid, read them in school actually, and oh man, that when I saw them come to life like that, yeah, it was a moment.
It was that first trailer. I remember the trailer coming out, and it just showed the Fellowship walking over the hill. And as each one walked over the hill, I knew exactly who they were. I think it was Gandalf in front, Ian McKellen, and I was just like, oh my God. Because when you read a book, you get a certain idea, because not every author gives you a full 100% description. And J.R.R. Tolkien was certainly one of those. He didn't exactly describe the physical characteristics, but he gave you an impression, and told over a period of time with big books, you got to kind of imagine what that character would look like. And in that trailer, they all walked over, and everyone looked exactly like I pictured them would be. I was so excited. I let out a little wee. I'm not going to lie.
Is that an age thing?
No, that's natural now. That happens every few minutes after wearing continence pants because I've passed 50. But that was obviously this was a few years
that's
ago.
nasty.
Yeah.
No, it's so much easier, Phil. You don't have to leave the room. You just let yourself go. Anyway, moving on.
Oh man,
You
just
never
put
have
a
to.
towel down for that sort of
You
thing.
don't have to leave the chair all night. It's perfect. Anyway,
Your
moving on.
wife's a lucky lady.
I'm not so sure on that one. Anyway, favorite TV series. That would be Star Trek, and there's a lot of Star Trek, so it's not just one. My era was the Next Generation, and that is where my fondness lies. Don't get me wrong, the first two series and most of the third series are complete trash, but after that is quite possibly one of the best TV series that I have ever seen. I love it, and that's a really hard thing to say because there are so many top quality TV series, as you said. Like Battlestar Galactica, the remake. We've got The Expanse. I absolutely love The Expanse. We've got
That's a great
Westworld.
show as well.
Yeah, we've got Westworld. I'm currently working my way through all the DC ones. I've just been watching Doom Patrol, and I'm watching Legends of Tomorrow and The Arrow and all of that. So many quality. I'm not saying they're all quality. I haven't watched all of them yet, but I'm saying there are so many high quality. I know.
Let's have this conversation again in a couple of months, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
You will see tomorrow and see what you think. Yeah.
But what my point is that there is so much high quality television out there. To pick a favourite one is really, really hard. But the one that sits most fondly in my heart is Star Trek: The Next Generation. And just for for anybody who might not be listening, who might be interested, I also love the new series because I think any series that runs for the length of time that something like Star Trek has to evolve and has to become more of a modern TV series. And all the Trekkies who are going, it's not like it used to be. Well, of course it's not, because people's viewing tastes have changed. And I love Discovery and I love Picard, and I can't wait for all the new series that are coming out. But yeah,
I was a big fan of Picard. I thought that was brilliantly done. I instantly felt engaged with that TV show, just from the first episode right through to the end.
The pun.
You like that? I dropped it in. I thought I'd be a little sly there. But yeah, that was such a great show, and Patrick Stewart's just brilliant in the role.
They didn't try and make him out to be some sort of superhuman. He's an old guy. He couldn't even run up the stairs, and I really like that. I thought they're not trying to make him out to be something that he's not. He's a very, very old.
They just put an android in there that was superhuman instead to make up for it.
I think
who probably got massacred.
Revisiting those characters, like in Picard, and that really, it felt like there was a passage of time had passed. Things had happened, and they weren't insignificant things. And those characters, whilst they were the characters we knew and loved, had gone through things, and it had changed them. And you could see that in the way that Picard approached things, and how he was trying to make amends for things he felt he'd done wrong, etc. And it was a really powerful show. I thought he did a really good job.
I agree.
I agree. Again, like
apart from Riker, he just got fat and comfortable.
Oh, that moment where Riker shows up at the end,
he was living the dream.
Riker showing up at the end with a fleet of ships was boss move, man. Like, he was just like,
total. Needs his own series.
You did kind of ruin the ending of the series there for anyone that hadn't watched it.
Well,
which is what you guys rated me over the coals for earlier. I'm just saying, double standard.
To be fair, I think we cross that bridge when we start talking about it. I think we've given away so many plot points at this point. We may as well just tell them that Data's. No, I'm not going to say
that. But
brilliant stuff. All right. Sorry, go on. Yeah, thanks, Alan. Nice one. So I guess it's my turn, I suppose, really. So a bit about myself. Yeah, I mean, I'm knocking on the door of 40, so I'm getting there, really. Again, been playing for a lot of years. I started off my gaming life with a Commodore 64 back in the day. Again, loading the tapes in, and my favourite game was
10 minutes
Disney.
for Pong.
Yeah.
10 minutes load time for Pong.
Absolutely loved Dizzy back in the days. Dizzy's, was it Treasure
Island Dizzy, Magic Land Dizzy? There were so many Dizzies. It was great.
Yeah, so good, so good. Absolutely loved that. But and I just got the bug from there, really, and sort of had most consoles all the way through, Master System, Mega Drive. I skipped Nintendo's until the N64 when I had one of those, but I had a PS1, PS2, really enjoyed all that. And then one fateful day, I went round a friend's house because he wanted to show me this new game he'd bought on this new console from Microsoft called, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Halo.
Okay.
And I thought, let's have to go with this. And it was all game over. The PS2 got traded in and the Xbox was in my hands.
You
because
were
that
converted.
Game, mate, yeah, that put me on the path that I'm on now, which is as Ratley put it earlier, an X-bot. I'm just absolutely buried into the Xbox ecosystem now completely, which I suppose brings me nicely on to my all-time favourite game, which after that, I bet you can't guess what it is.
Wait, hang on a sec. I'm going to guess. It's Dress Up My Little Pony.
Very close, very close. I'm going to throw a little spin on it because I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'd say my favourite game is the Master Chief Collection.
Ooh. Well, that's dirty play, bro.
It's a bit of a cheat, I know, but it is one game, and it's got Combat Evolved, which if you really pushed me, I'd have to say is my favourite, just for the nostalgia point of it. But it's your Halo 1, your Halo 2, your Halo 3, your ODST, your Reach in there. I mean, it's just with all the multiplayer maps as well. I mean, I just absolutely love it. And I make a point probably once a year to at least play through Halo Combat Evolved campaign. I'm currently playing, me and Phil are playing through it as... co-op with up to, I think we've done Reach, Combat Evolve, we're now on Halo 2 at the minute.
Yeah, we've done it on that super awesome playlist of every mission in a row, didn't we? We did.
Yeah.
Until I started to struggle a little bit with the sluggishness of the first Halo.
Yeah, you don't have the nostalgia point that I do you? So.
Well, I played it originally on PC, so it had been out for probably 2 or 3 years before it might have even been more than that, before they converted it over to PC and made it mouse and keyboard style-y. Also, I noticed you selected the Master Chief Collection. Is that just because Halo 5 isn't technically included in that yet?
Yeah, to be quite honest.
So don't want it bringing down the average, yeah?
Hey, if we put the multiplayer in there, it stands up. It really stands up. But let's be honest.
Warzone, I really enjoyed the Warzone in that, especially, you get right to the end of the Wreck Level 7 and you roll out with a multicoloured tank and start laying waste to the Covenant. There's just something satisfying about that. 4 Scorpion tanks all lined up, peppering them in unison.
Yeah, awesome stuff. That's great. So, so I'll move on to my all-time favourite movie. Now, this one, I absolutely love this film.
Beaches.
Whenever it comes on TV. Close. No.
It's My Little Pony again, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. No. Whenever it comes on the TV, I have to watch it. Literally, even if it's halfway through, I'll just watch it to the end of that point. But it is Back to the Future.
Oh, cool. I like that. Wait, which one, though?
What's
the first
one?
The very first one. Okay, that's cool.
But
I was always a part 2 man because of the hoverboard.
Can I just ask, Craig, if
Mm-hmm.
you like it so much, then why do you have to wait for it to come on TV? Why haven't you got the DVD, bruh?
I have got the DVD.
Well, watch it every day!
There is so much, such thing as too much of a good thing, right?
No. My point was that even if I'd watched it a week before, if it came on the telly, I'd still watch it again. I love that film.
It's perfect.
It's so good.
It's perfect.
Yeah. And if somebody tells me they haven't seen the Back to the Future films, I get enraged and have to lend them the DVDs because it's sacrilege. And now, I suppose my favourite TV show. Now, again, I'm really torn with this one because I can say my favourite TV show. I'm initially going to say Breaking Bad because that is one hell of a TV show. It's one hell of a ride all the way through. It's so well written. The characters are absolutely brilliant. The cinematography, everything about it absolutely blows my mind. That series when I watched the final episode, it's the first series I ever literally started the first episode straight away and watched the whole thing through again. I loved it that much. Absolutely such an amazing show. However, if I really was to be honest, and this is going to sound quite. It's going to be a bit embarrassing, to be honest. But actually, if I say really what my favourite TV show is, it's probably Friends. I watch so much Friends; it's unbelievable. If I'm in a bad mood or if I'm feeling a bit down, just stick on Friends, and within about 10 minutes, I'm just smiling and happy again.
You
So
can hide your shame, Craig. I've got no complaints with that. I have both the Friends box set and the Frasier box set, and both are
nice.
perfectly written comedies. I know Friends there's a bit of a misnomer, isn't there? It kind of feels like it's a girly show, and there really shouldn't be girly or boy shows, but you know what I mean. It seems like guys shouldn't watch Friends, and that's complete rubbish.
Nah.
It's fantastic writing. I absolutely love it, and I'm the same as you. It always cheers me up. I used to, remember it used to be shown on E4 in the mornings, and I used to watch it before I went to work every day just to give myself a pep, so that I'd be in a good mood before I walked out the front door. Absolutely genius choice.
I've got no qualms with anyone liking Friends. It's a quality show. Yeah, we've all got our things that we think aren't cool, but you know what? Screw it. If you like it, you like it, right?
That's right.
It's like I don't understand guilty pleasure. If you get pleasure from it, you know, so what? Like if you dig X tune or X show and it's, you know, so what?
Although I do draw the line at Sex and the City. If any of you boys like Sex and the City, I'm out of here. I'm leaving right now.
But Samantha, though, all she wanted was true love.
Yeah,
For God's sake, you're all a bunch of pansies. Oh, my
Mr.
favourite show is
Big.
Friends. I need to pick me up at the start of work. No, I'm kidding. I actually like Friends as well.
Where's the kick Phil button?
Mate, you can just save it for like afterwards or anything. You can physically kick me if you like. Just for ruining your beloved Friends.
Oh, it's all right, mate. It's all right. No,
Good
thank
choice.
you for your support, guys. Good therapy. So yeah, well, that's going through everybody, and just I guess anybody who does decide to listen, and if they do, you now know a little bit about us. So what we can do, we'll take a quick break here, and we'll be back in just a moment.
If you hold back anything, I'll kill you. If you bend the truth, or I think you're bending the truth, I'll kill you. If you forget anything, I'll kill you. In fact, you're going to have to work very hard to stay alive, Nick.
Welcome back. After that short break, we're now moving on to the section which we've very creatively called "What Are You Playing This Week?" Now, Alan did have a little jingle. Do you want to do the jingle, Alan?
No.
Oh, you let me down, brother. You let me down.
Probably for the best.
So
We all heard that jingle.
Yeah.
So it's just we just thought with this section, we're all playing different games at different times, and actually it's quite nice to kind of have a bit of a discussion about the different points, what we liked, what we didn't like about the different games, and potentially in the future we can do that about TV shows, movies we've seen, things like that. So it's really going to be kind of changing as we go through, but I think I'll mix it up a little bit, and to put him on the spot, Phil, I'm going to go over to you first, mate, because you've been playing a little game called Code Vein, haven't you?
I have indeed. So as a general starting rule, so basically Code Vein is like an anime Dark Souls. It's probably the best description you're going to get of it. It has a few kind of different balances to it, but that's the kind of long and short of it. And as a general rule, I don't generally like anime style games because the characters tend to look very false, and the models tend to be a bit blocky and basic. But actually, I have to say, this one, it's got quite nice character detail. There's a lot of thought and design gone into like the outfits and things like that, and the customization for the characters is ridiculous. Like it has like a kind of accessories section. God, this sounds really camp. I'm back to like My Little Pony as magic and stuff. I've said that 3 times now. Basically, so you can like place like like rings on your arms, or you can put like sleeves on, or you can put like a hat on, and you can put the hat on your head or on your knee or on your elbow, or just anything really bizarre like that.
I'm sorry. Put a hat on your knee.
Yeah. You pick a hat and it starts from your head, and then you can click the left or right trigger, and it moves it, and you can have it on your arm or your elbow or your knee.
Sold.
Yeah,
it's
crazy. And I'm gonna tell you what. Yeah, you wear a pair of glasses and you try and put them around your waist. That is some weird ass stuff going on right there. You can make an absolute monstrosity of a character.
That explains why you were dressed that way when I saw you last weekend. Of course. It's all
Alan,
becoming clear.
That's an entirely different reason.
Okay.
That's just normal Saturday evening. So yeah, I mean, kind of as I was saying, it's like the anime style Dark Souls. But I mean, the nicest thing about this is it's actually balanced for 2-player. So if you're playing it on your own, you have like a little buddy basically that follows you around. Whereas with Dark Souls, you're very much, it's one man / dead thing with a horrible skeleton-y look and some armor faces the world. Whereas this, it's two people, and they kind of chat and bounce off each other a little bit, and you've got like a kind of home base you can go back to, and you can upgrade your weapons and your armor, and you can take different companions, and each of the companions have like a different kind of play style. So you might have some dude with a massive like buster sword like Cloud, so you can have some guy with a little short rapier. It's kind of cool, and you've got like ranged magic as well, so you can really kind of change your style of play. So you can have a kind of a distance ranged support character, or you can have like a guy with a massive sword who plays kind of tank styly, and you can either kind of rogue around and stab people in the back, or it's very kind of flexible in terms of the gameplay, which I really like. The levels are quite diverse and interesting. There's kind of a couple of different paths you can take. It's got a fairly solid and very similar kind of upgrade system to Dark Souls. You kill something, it gives you X amount of whatever, I've forgotten what it is, that you get now as a resource, and then you can farm that into your weapons or into leveling up. But yeah, I mean,
Cool.
if you like any of that kind of Dark Souls stuff, but I mean, like the co-op in Dark Souls is a little clunky, I think,
Yeah.
and the balancing seems very harsh. If you go from one person to two, it balances the bosses are significantly harder, whereas Code Vein, being designed for a kind of two-player team, it doesn't change that balance when you invite somebody in co-op, and I think that's a really nice kind of aspect of it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that puts me to a question actually. That because I mean I've not played Code Vein, but I have played Dark Souls, and as it's famously punishing, Dark Souls is a really bloody hard game. So in terms of on a scale, is it as hard as Dark Souls? Is it easier? Is it harder? Is it where would you put it?
I'd put it fairly close.
Oh,
In theory, I would say it's not as difficult as Dark Souls because you have that extra buddy character around with you, so you
Is
tend
that-
to get
Sorry,
less
Phil.
overwhelmed.
Is that
yes, Phil?
buddy character with you all the time, or only when a second player is playing? So do you have an AI buddy if you're playing on your own?
Yeah, you have an AI buddy if you're
Right.
playing on your own. So the whole game is balanced for this kind of two-player or this two-party kind of approach to the game. That said, there's been plenty of times when I've been overwhelmed and just got absolutely bum shuffled, and there was nothing I could do about it. And then I've had to work my way back through the enemies. I mean, I'm quite early on in the game, and I'll be honest, I'm one of those people that likes to kind of level up whenever the opportunity is. So I spent a good 3 hours in the starting area just looping around and leveling up and stuff.
farming.
Yeah, oh yeah, I love a good farm. I do love a good farm.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool. Any thoughts on that, Ratley, or any questions?
No, it's not. I mean, Dark Souls things aren't really my thing. I get too frustrated too easily. But I just love the idea of it just being this, like the cosmetic stuff sounded awesome. Like, I want to put a hat on my knee. Okay, go for it. That alone, I was like, yeah, okay, this game could be interesting. It's just it's nice when something does something fresh. Something just off the wall.
Yeah. Well, on that point, then, I mean, can you put your hat on your knee in Battletoads?
No, you can't. You can't. Yeah, the toads are pretty straightforward, and that it's not a cosmetic really game. It's a see that thing over there, beat it up game. To be fair, I've been having a blast with it. And to say actually, that's really unfair to Battletoads to say it's a beat that thing up game, because it is a game which it's predominantly focused around the side-scrolling, punch 'em up, a la Streets of Rage or the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade or what have you. But it is interspersed with little sections of other stuff like the bikes and the side-scrolling ship levels and stuff. So there are different things to do in Battletoads. Without question, it's not just a hey, go there and beat that guy up, as much as it's a lot of hey, go there and beat that guy up. It's got really good I mean, I've been genuinely had a real blast of it. It's not. I mean, the Streets of Rage comparison is inevitable given Streets of Rage 4 coming out, a few months back. And whilst I think Streets of Rage does that thing better, because it's Streets of Rage, right? And who doesn't love Streets of Rage? I love Streets of Rage. You've got a problem. Yeah. And I'd never say Battletoads could hang with Streets of Rage on that. But it is still really good fun. It's a kind of a bit more simplified, but it's also really, really hard. I mean, Battletoads was famous back in the day. Alan probably will remember it going way back when. I don't know if Craig or you played it. But way back
I do.
I played Battletoads, and it was ridiculously hard. Like, it was a punishing game, and this isn't quite that level of difficult. It's not like pixel perfect movement or anything, but it is a really solid game which has got a testing difficulty to it, and you have to just keep going and going and going. So I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed my time in it. The graphics are great, the sound is great, the cutscenes and humor are just so on point. The game is so self-aware, a la Deadpool, whatever you want to call it, fourth wall breaks or what have you. It knows what it is, it knows what its humor is. It's really good fun. I just can't recommend it enough, and the fact you can get it on Game Pass and just play it for free is just awesome. And I genuinely have had a blast with it. Genuinely loved it.
So I haven't had a chance to play Battletoads yet, and I know it's on Game Pass. I'm definitely going to download it, but I have played Cuphead, and that game is mental and very difficult. Where would you say it kind of lines up in terms of, is it more difficult, less difficult, just as rage-inducing?
Cuphead made me cry really early doors. The Cuphead is an evil game, because the thing I found with Cuphead as well is it looks like it should be way more fun than it is, but Cuphead is just you gain pleasure by surviving.
It's sadistic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is so sadistic.
It's like they made this.
Go on.
It's like it's one of those 80s cartoons. Like, oh, it looks good. I like the art style. It looks all friendly, and it's just no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Whereas Battletoads is challenging and it is tough, and at points you'll feel like occasionally it will feel a little bit unfair. Like, it's like, oh, how am I supposed to beat this combo of this, that, and the other? And all it's trying to get you to do really is because you've got several different move sets you can do. It's not just walk over and punch things. Because they're toads, obviously they've got long tongues they use to catch flies and stuff. But you can also use that to drag enemies towards you or drag yourself towards enemies. So as an example, there's a couple of sections where you have enemies that are on water, which will shock. Now that will shock the surrounding area, but because of the water, it will shock through the water. And then you have ranged enemies who are attacking you from within that water. But you can't go onto the water because the ranged enemies, you need to get the ranged enemies on the water. But if you go on the water, you get shocked by the shock guys, right? So you have to figure out which way you're going to go about it. Are you going to pull the shock traps off the water or the ranged guys to you? So that's kind of just a difference in strategy. Whereas with Cuphead, it's like, I've just got to run around and pray to God that thing doesn't hit me, because it will absolutely annihilate me. Oh my God, there's 6 of them. How is there 6 of them? Oh my God, I'm dead. There's a big difference in that playstyle.
Yeah, we played, what was it? We played Battletoads at the Xbox Expo a couple of years ago, didn't we, Craig? And it was good fun there. I like the on-rail section as well. I, for one, I'm not a fan of Streets of Rage. No, it's a great game. It's a great game. But my claim to fame for me, and it's a personal achievement, is actually finally managing to play and complete Dark Souls last year. And I think it's something that we could consider as a talking point for another podcast, because I think the change that's happened in games over the last 30 or 40 years that I've personally seen is that we're now in a place where games are much more accessible, and dying isn't a big deal. You can save points, and you play something like Assassin's Creed. It doesn't matter if you die, because you just reload a couple of minutes before you just died, and you just carry on, and everything's absolutely fine. And games like Cuphead and even Code Vein and Battletoads, these all harken back to a day where it was about learning the systems, learning timing for Cuphead. It's not evil, the game. I'm sorry to contradict you guys, but it's about timing. It's about learning exactly what moves the big bosses do, learning their fire, the different ways they fire, and then you counter your moves to deal with that. It's about playing something over and over and over again until you get rid. So you know exactly when it's going to move, and when this is going to happen, you then beat them. And that's basically how it got to Dark Souls.
100% agree with you what you're saying, but I totally at the same time think, even by that standard, Cuphead is evil. I played a lot of old school, have to rinse and repeat shooters, and Cuphead is like, dude, seriously? What the hell, man?
We're going to ruin your weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is a tough game. That is definitely. Yeah, I got to say, I mean, on the point of Battletoads, just to kind of flip flop between it a bit. But I've played Battletoads as well, and I have finished it. But I've been playing it with my 10-year-old, with Josh. So we've been playing it on tadpole difficulty. So it's been a vastly different experience for me. It's not been difficult, but it's been really, really good fun, and actually at points still almost mildly challenging, me and Josh playing it together, and it's really fun when you've got the different types of mini games that come up. It turns from like a puzzle game to a platforming game to a beat 'em up game to a bullet hell game, and it's just really great fun. And I totally know what you mean when you're talking about the kind of the cartoon. It's like an old Saturday morning cartoon, in between each of the episodes, and they're really, really fun to watch. They're so well written. But I think my point is that even playing it on tadpole difficulty, it wasn't ridiculously easy, so I can only imagine what it's like on the harder ones.
Like you're saying, referencing the mini games, one of my favourite bits is really early on when the Battletoads realise they're not famous anymore and they have to get normal jobs, and you have to go and do their normal job with mini games like a masseuse, and you're stamping stuff, you're handing out autographs for the guy to do. It's like that kind of stuff. Like, it's so self-aware and self-referential. It's so brilliant. I love that humour that it brings into it, and it really sold me on it. I was like, the art style's great, the game's fun, but this sense of humour that it's got throughout, and even the commentary from the Toads on certain things, it's just, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. Definitely cool. Well, I'll go next then. And tell you what I've been playing. I've been playing a game again. It's one you probably never heard of. It's called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. So yeah, I mean, for me, when I saw this game was coming out, I thought, oh, that does look really cool, because I had it back, funnily enough, on the Dreamcast, Tony Hawk's 1. I had an American copy of Tony Hawk's, and I absolutely played that game to death. I just loved it. It had great multiplayer with your friends playing horse. I don't know if you've ever done that before, where you've got to basically do one-upmanship on the other person's tricks, and you each have one go to do it, and it's just a great party game. But I thought to myself, do I really want to get something like that? I don't know. Then I watched a couple of reviews online, and everybody was just banging on about how faithful a remake it was, and how well it's been done, because it wasn't just a remaster, not just a pretty skin on something. It's a full-on remake. They've I think it's Vicarious Visions have done it. They've literally redesigned all of the levels. They've redesigned the skaters. They've got all the original crew in there, but they've got a whole bunch of new skaters as well. They've got like I say, all the updated graphics and loads more progression system type things in there that they never had before. And yeah, I just picked it up, and I'm absolutely love it. It's just really a massive nostalgia trip. It's just bringing so many memories back for, fun long summers just sitting there playing on the Dreamcast, bashing that game out. Absolutely brilliant stuff.
Wait,
One thing I will say though, I did own a Dreamcast. Yeah, mate.
Nobody bought a
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast. That's a joke.
Loved my Dreamcast, man. Soul Calibur.
Yeah, the odd one out, Phil. Yeah.
What is going on here?
Soul Calibur.
Power Stone. Love the Dream. But yeah, so yeah, you're the odd one out there, Phil. But anyway,
Sega wasn't going out of business then, of course. Whatever. Yeah, that worked out so well for them producing that Dreamcast, eh?
Yeah, obviously the three people that bought it are in this room.
Yeah, clearly. Good work giving them false hope. Maybe they've tried a little bit harder if you guys hadn't bought the Dreamcast.
Do you know what? That's actually a relevant point, because the Dreamcast, when it came out at the time, was the most powerful console on the market, and it was absolutely epic. And yet, it still didn't succeed. It still didn't get the sales, and it actually caused what company was it that produced it? Was it Sega? Even stopped them from producing hardware and moving straight into software because it was such a fail. And it just goes to show that power isn't everything, and that's relevant to what we were talking about the Xbox and the PS5. But anyway,
yeah.
So Alan's predicting the new Xbox Series X epic failure.
Maybe. We'll see.
Oh, well, we'll get onto that in a minute, won't we? So, but yeah, sort of going back onto the point I was making just about Tony Hawk's. Fantastic recreation of an absolutely epic 2 games. I am woefully bad at it now, whereas I used to be able to get some really good combos. Now I can hardly string anything together, but I'm trying, and I'm still enjoying it.
I love those games, and I think the thing was the time that I stopped playing was when Skate started coming out, and I tried Skate, and I'm not a skateboarder. I'm nowhere near being competent. Even if I walk near a skateboard, I'm probably going to fall over. And I think the difference for me, because I see there are new games out, aren't there? I can't remember what they're called, but there's a couple of very new skateboarding games out that They're talking about how the controls, the left and the right joystick, are like moving your left and right feet. And that for me was always the problem, because the thing about Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 is that they were simple. You press A to do an ollie, you press B to do a back. Do you know what I mean? It was button combos, and you could learn those combos, and you could feel like you were like, I'm a kick-ass skateboarder. I'm doing all these cool tricks and all these combo runs together. And it was just, I don't want to use the word simple, but it was easy to use and fun to play. And that's why eventually, when they start to get in these more complicated skate games, I stopped playing them. So I'm very much very excited to get that and have a go at it again.
I think that's possibly a problem with a lot of the newer games. I mean, like, I am by no means a fan of FIFA. I can't stand football games. But one of the things I see as the FIFA games progress every year, when I play it inevitably once a year, fail miserably, and refuse to ever play it again, is that the controls get more and more complicated and require more and more finesse. And it's almost reaching the point now where there's actually a physical skill level required to even be able to play the game at a passable level.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's, something that's kind of interesting. I mean, VR, suddenly you start playing shooters in VR, and actually you've got to physically move your body. It's not just moving your thumbs and the thumbsticks anymore.
Right.
Suddenly, actually, the interaction with games required is becoming much greater now that, we're all going to be old and crippled and not able to play them.
They're already.
Just hoping, Sword Art Online comes around and real, and I can just put my nerve gear on, and I can be old and crippled laying on my bed.
I think this is a
And actually look like a 20-year-old bossing it.
Finding things and making things more, like more complicated stuff. And there are certain game types that will really work for, like making it more real. Like if you take something like a driving game, the more reality you can put into that, the better that's going to feel and play. But if you do it with something like, just for example, Call of Duty, if you try and make Call of Duty realistic to the point of like, you're going to rob it of a lot of its like power fantasy and fun. And I think that's, a lot of people, don't think about it. It's like, I want it to be super realistic. I want the bullet count to be exactly how it works. I want guns to work perfectly. It's like, that'll be boring as hell, man. You really don't,
Yeah, and that really ties in, because I can't remember what the online shooter is that does that, but there is I think you probably know the name of it, Craig, but I know we've had
Arma 3, I think.
3, and stuff like that, and Operation Flashpoint. Those games are absolutely lethal. You can be walking across a field and get shot by a sniper on a hill a mile away, and you can't even see them. It's just that the realism is just absolutely fantastic, but it does not make them easy games to play. If you ever want to feel like you go in and you feel like you can play that game, you need to spend dozens of hours just getting to the competency level. And I think that's the blocker for a lot of these games, where they get a little bit too complicated. The middle ground is where it's best.
And I think you get that power.
I think that's a good example in the.
Go on, you were going to say, Phil.
Oh, go on, Ratley. As I say, I think that competency level is why there's that kind of middle ground of games. So, like, for example, you talked about racing, and you've got like your Project Cars 2 and your Assetto Corsa that are like super kind of serious. Like, if you're really going to actually play those games properly, you need like a racing wheel and a sim setup and stuff like that. And then you've got something like kind of Forza sits quite nicely in the middle, Forza Horizon, where you've got the sim stuff in there. You can hook up a wheel, but actually, if you want to play it on a controller and just hold the trigger down and go in a straight line, it's got the assists. And then right at the other end, you've got like Need for Speed, where you're busting out massive drifts just by tapping the brake and shuffling a little bit on the thumbsticks. And I think there's a game like that for everybody, but I think the middle ground's the real kind of win there, where you can do a little bit of both, and it gets more people playing together.
It's back to
Yeah, well, I'm going to grab the handbrake here and just pull the conversation a bit back on topic, because we have drifted off a little bit, but it's all good stuff. But yeah, I think in summary, with Tony Hawk's, you're very right. There is games out there that are all about realism, and I think like Skate 3 and stuff are very much trying to go for that, like real jumps and stuff like that, things you can actually do. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is just a combo buster game. That's all it is, really. It just happens to have a skateboarder in it, really. I think that's the main kind of point to it, I suppose, really. But in summary, bloody brilliant game. If you liked it in the past, you've got to pick it up. If you've never played it before, to be honest, it's not even that expensive. I think it's about 35 quid brand new. It'll be on sale, not in the not too distant future. It's absolutely worth it, and it's one of the best games I've played this year. I think really it's absolutely brilliant. Wow. So really, really high praise from me. So, but that's we'll move over to
that would be me,
to Mr. Longfangs. He's been playing another remake, haven't you, mate?
This week, mostly, I have been playing Ark. But in between that, I have been playing Kingdoms of Amalur:
I've been waiting
Re-Reckoning.
for this one. I've been waiting for this.
Ah,
This is
yeah,
one of my. I love this game. I spent like 110 hours in the first one. So
exactly, and that's
give me
pretty
the good
much.
news, Alan. I want to hear about this.
And that's pretty much the starting point I'm going to go off. I think there's two audiences that I'm talking to when I'm talking about this game. The remake or remaster, it's not a remake, it's a remaster. I'm afraid it's not great in the sense that there isn't a massive graphical improvement. There have been some tidy ups as far as the combat, although I have to say I didn't notice because I, like you, Phil, I didn't play it quite as much as you did, but I played when it was out originally in 2012. And its pedigree speaks for itself. I mean, it's written. The story is written by R.A. Salvatore or Salvatore. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. And the art style is by McFarlane. Is it Todd McFarlane? I think it's Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
Not Seth MacFarlane. Yeah, Todd McFarlane. So you've got this real pedigree, and it really does show. It's got a very graphical, cutesy look. If I had to kind of compare it to something, I'd have to say Fable. A bit less dumpy people in it, but it's got that same sort of graphical aesthetic.
I think the
Um,
original was targeted actually as a competitor to Fable. I think that was a lot of their inspiration for it, and
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
what
and you
kind of
can
steered the
definitely see
design.
that, but it's got a huge amount more depth than Fable ever had as far as its RPG mechanics. You've got your skill sets. You've got. I mean, there's quite a few different things in there. You've got skill points. You've got your different class traits, if you like. So you've got might, you've got wisdom and stuff like that. And you can build. You can take on different characteristics, spend skill points on those, and then you have your fates. So you can choose whether you're going to be a warrior or something in between, and there's so much choice. There is quite a lot of depth in there, and the combat's really fun and interesting. It plays again a bit like a fighter in the fact that you have combos, but it's very fluid. You have very obviously different interesting weapons to use, whether you're using magic or a great sword or a normal sword and staffs and stuff like that. And I have nothing to complain about. The problem with the remaster is that there just doesn't seem to be enough. So if you were somebody who was like you have, Phil, that you've already played the original, and you still have the original, which many people will have on Steam, I'd say don't go out and buy the remaster. It's really not worth it. There's not enough of a change in the game to warrant spending another 35 or 25 pounds on getting the remaster. The graphical upgrade, I mean, it wasn't exactly an ugly game back then, and I have seen a couple of reviewers who've said they thought it was ugly. I disagree with that, and I've been a very loud advocate of the fact that games for me aren't about graphics; they're about gameplay. Obviously, graphics do have an impact. I always thought Amalur was a pretty nice looking game anyway, and they've given it a little bit of a spit and polish, but it doesn't match up to today's modern games. But what really makes Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning a game that if you haven't played before and that you should buy is simply the fact that it is a fantastic RPG with absolutely oodles of like content and depth and story, and you just keep going through. And as Phil said, I mean, I don't think it's not a 40. I think it's about 60-hour story in it plus,
Yeah.
and you can
Wow.
easily do double that by doing all the side missions and all the other side quests and everything like that. All the characters are voice acted separately. No Skyrim or here, not with the same 7 voices. Everybody's got their own stories and voices and everything else. I love the game as it is, and I'm loving playing it. However, if you're somebody who has already got it and has played it and is a fan, I wouldn't bother getting the remaster because there's not enough there to warrant spending the money buying a game that you already have. But if you haven't played it before, pick it up.
Just
Aside
to
from a
dip
couple,
in on that point, Alan,
go for it.
the re-reckoning is actually DLC they've added at the end of the game.
Yes, but if you
So when
buy the
you,
base copy, Phil, you don't get that extra. They've added on the couple of extras that were added onto the original game as standard, and if you
Yeah.
buy the extended edition, which I think is another £10 or £15, you then get the next the add-on, the DLC, which is coming out next year, and
yeah,
that might be your reason for getting it because
yeah, that's what I
obviously,
was going to say. Is that content's supposed to be a lot newer and fresh
yeah,
designed.
yeah,
It's not like cutting room content that they've
no,
kind of rejazzed up. It is more additional story,
And if that's what you're there for, then buy the remaster. But if you just want to enjoy Kingdoms of Amalur and you've played it before and you've got it, it's not going to offer you anything new other than that DLC. But it is still a great game. The actual game itself is faultless, and I'm really loving playing it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, my one question is then you said a little bit how it's not like Skyrim, with the recycled voices. Has anybody taken an arrow to the knee in that game?
They have not so far, but that's not for lack of trying.
Fantastic. That's going on to the Seth MacFarlane thing, really, isn't it? I'm sorry, when you said Seth MacFarlane, all I had in my head was Peter from Family Guy running around with a massive sword.
Meg.
Fantastic stuff. Cool.
Brilliant.
Was anyone else got any questions for Alan about Kingdom?
I think it was fairly comprehensive.
No, he's shattered by illusions of it.
Yeah. I've never played
Yeah,
it, so I might pick up. I might have a look at it.
I was just about to say, Phil, what are you quibbling about? We've got it on Game Share, which means you already have it because I bought it.
Yeah, who am I kidding? I'm going to spend 30 hours playing that at least.
Cool. I think it is a thing. Me and Ratley are both in the same boat where we haven't played it before. I think you just said.
Yeah.
And, I'm really quite interested in it. How about you?
I mean, RPGs are kind of. I love a good RPG, but I always find the tougher thing with an RPG is that first sort of 5 to 10 hours. If it doesn't grab you, it's really hard to get over that. So I'd be interested to give it a go. But I'm quite judgy in that first 5 to 10 hours. If it isn't going to get me, I go, this is the weird thing, right? If you go back to my favourite game ever, my Mass Effect. When I first played Mass Effect, I got to the Citadel and got bored. And I actually put it down and was like, I'm not playing this again, right? And then it came down to the point where there was a lull and I went, I should probably give this another look. Because I'd pestered my brother to buy me for Christmas that year, this limited edition Mass Effect 1. And I was like, I'll give it another go. I should probably at least finish it. There's nothing else out. And then I got off the Citadel, and it was like, this game transforms itself. And I was like, so sometimes you've got to push through that barrier, haven't you? But
I can't help feeling there's a life lesson there, Ratley, that you're not getting it, really, which is, it's my favourite game of all time, but when I first played it, I got bored after the first 8 hours and stopped playing it. So your ethos of maybe you should try giving them 15, 20 hours, my friend.
Well, how long do you invest in that?
That's what she said.
I just don't like it. How long is too long?
Great.
It's not your thing.
Well, are we still talking about computer games?
Well, that's what I know, man. I'm playing. How long is too long before you decide it's not your thing? That is the question.
It really depends how often you have to keep paying for it.
Oh, this is going to the cutting room floor. Oh, dear.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So pulling the handbrake again. Hard right turn.
Right turn, Clyde.
From Phil's voice. Cool. Right. Okay. Well, I think that pretty much sums up everything we've been doing for this week. So we're going to take another break there, and we'll see you again in a minute.
The hell are you supposed to be? I'm Vengeance.
Welcome back, everybody or nobody. Probably nobody, let's be honest. We're now going to go on to a section very, very imaginatively called The News. He did an intro this time. He wouldn't do it last time. Or was that Ratley?
No, that was definitely not me. That was Alan all day long. To be fair, I added the boo at the end. That was
team effort. Please carry on.
Fantastic, love it.
I really let the side down there. Didn't get in there. Could have done some drumming in the background or something, maybe.
Make a quick boop. Go on.
Boop.
Oh, fantastic. Love it. Brilliant. Let me just make a note so I can cut that out. Right.
Good plan. Unbelievable.
Right. So, I mean, we're recording this on Friday, the 11th of September. There's not really a lot gone on this week, to be honest. Oh, no, hold on. There was something happened. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I do believe the Xbox Series S price and release date got leaked, which then subsequently Xbox came out, confirmed, and then released the price and release date of the Series X. So I think maybe we should talk about this. What do you think, boys?
I must have missed this. Sorry, guys. I'm not keeping up to date. The Xbox...
What's the Xbox Series X again, Craig?
What? There's a new
It looks like a mini fridge.
Xbox? There's an Xbox.
Oh, I thought that was a panini press, and you just put food in the top of it. And
That's not like the PlayStation 4 sandwich maker, is it?
Tell you what, though.
I think you might have dreamed that one up, Alan.
All right, okay.
The
did you?
memes.
Is that a
they're
real thing?
produced
Do I need to
from
check Amazon?
New Xboxes. The memes are just so good. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's the Series X or the thing. And I love the way people think we're going to get really offended as Xbox fans at these memes. And all I'm doing is like literally I see one and just piss myself laughing because they're brilliant. You know?
So
And forward it to every WhatsApp group.
Yeah. Exactly.
So on this topic, I've got a bit of a viewpoint on this, and the prices kind of tie into this. So what are we're talking? It's confirmed £249 for the S, and £499 for the X, right?
No, 449 for the X.
449 for the X. Excellent. I've got extra money in my savings account. I didn't know I had. Marvelous. And there hasn't been a confirmation on the PS5 yet, has there?
No.
I think they're talking possibly around the £500 to £600 price limit.
It's all conjecture at the moment,
but we don't know. Right. So, and I watched a very interesting YouTube video earlier on today, and all credit to the YouTuber Mike Horton. Just going to give him credit for this, and I really do agree with his viewpoint on this. If we look back to when we had the war between when it first kind of started. I mean, obviously it's been going on ever since the Xbox came out, but I think it's I can't remember which generation because the generations don't tie in with the numbers, but I think it's the Xbox One and the PlayStation 3, 4, and basically these two major companies. They're fighting off against each other to get the biggest market share. There's a third party involved in all this, and they're not really involved in the war, and that's Nintendo, because they looked at it and went, well, we're not interested, because let's be honest, Microsoft and Sony are fighting for a very particular market share, and in that sense, the console wars for many years have been about that market share, which is really, let's be honest, about us, which is the hardcore gamers. And I don't call myself hardcore for many things, but when I can spend 12 hours in one day sitting in front of my Xbox, I think that's fairly hardcore.
Hold on a sec, Alan. You're missing a really important fourth party in this war.
Shut up about PC Master Race.
No,
I'm not going there, Phil.
No, that's true. I wasn't going to say that, but I kind of lump PC in almost with Xbox now because it crosses over. No, you're missing the mighty Google Stadia with their exclusive demo of something.
The Gods and Monsters, whatever it's called now.
Oh, yeah, there we go. The Gods and Monsters exclusive demo. I mean, I saw that and I just thought, I got to get me one of those.
Yeah,
Phil Harrison, the Grim Reaper of console releases.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carry on, Ratley. No, because I've got to finish up. So you say what you're going to say.
Well, me and Craig were talking about Phil Harrison like the other day and saying Phil Harrison, like if he shows up at the launch of your console, you just want to just cry at that point because he like at the launch of the Xbox One when they came out with that, obviously all Connect and that, and it was like, wow, this is painful to watch. He was like in charge of PlayStation at PlayStation 3. Everyone was like, what are they doing? And now Stadia's come along going, hey, we've got Phil Harrison. Everyone's gone, what's wrong with you people? Have you not seen what's been going on? It's crazy.
That guy must interview really well.
Yeah, really well. Yeah.
But anyway, so we've got this third party and the fourth, thanks Phil, third party who just basically said, we're not interested in your market share. We do our own thing and we're just going to aim at our market share. They aim at the younger gamers and families, which is a market that Microsoft would love to have, but they've never really managed. They tried it with Kinect, trying to get in with that whole, family game stuff, and it just obviously didn't work out. And then I look at this new generation coming out, and if you look at it again, obviously Nintendo are still like doing their own massively, very, very successful thing with the Switch, and that they don't need to be involved in this whatsoever. And I look at what Microsoft are doing, and I can't help feeling that this particular generation, they're doing the same thing. There is no longer a console war because Microsoft have taken a step back. Because if we look at the new consoles that Microsoft are bringing out, for me, they're looking at the long-term game plan. They're building a base, and they're not building a console base. They're building a market share base with Game Pass. So it doesn't matter whether you have a Series S or a Series X, or whether you have an Xbox, S. It doesn't matter whether you have any of those consoles. You can get the Game Pass, and you can have access to all of these games in their library, and that is what they're trying to sell. And in that sense, I look at the Series S and I say what they're doing is they're trying to undercut the market and trying to take some of the market share away from Nintendo, not from Sony. They're trying to plug into the casual gamers, the family gamers. When parents are going out at Christmas to buy a console for their kids, they're going to see the Series S at the $249 price limit, and then they're going to look at the PlayStation 5, whether it's got a hard drive or not, because I think even the cheaper hard drive will still be at least 100,
Disk drive, you mean, Alan?
Sorry, disk drive. My bad. Thanks, Phil. It will still be at least another £150 more expensive than the Series S. So what are they going to buy? They buy a console at £249. They get access with a it's $10 a month, or for us it's about £7. I don't know, Phil, you're paying for it, but anyway, we get that, and you get all of those. You get all of those game titles. You're not just selling a console; you're selling basically a platform, and
So
that
what you're
to
saying,
me,
Alan, is Microsoft is the Game Pass company now.
yeah, basically,
Not even the
they're
console
selling
company.
they're selling an ecosystem. They're not selling a console. They're selling an ecosystem, and all of those gamers that get bought, or those casual gamers, or those kids that get bought a Series S for Christmas, wait till next year. They'll want a Series X. Because that's what, so those new members they garner to the community will want to stay within. I still have an Xbox after 10, 12 years, not because I'm like, Microsoft, you're God, I love you, Phil Spencer, although I am a bit in a closed room. But the reality is I'm there because I buy Xboxes, and I have my profile, and I have my history, and I have everything else. So for a hardcore gamer, it doesn't make any difference to me how much more powerful the PS5 is. And it isn't really. Both consoles have got good and bad points as far as their power. And I think when it comes to actually the graphical fidelity of games, I don't think you're going to see an awful lot of difference between the two consoles. What is the difference is that PlayStation does not have a lower cost console, whereas Microsoft does. And they will absolutely grab a huge market share with that and into the long term. And I think that's what it's about.
I think
they're doing an
touching on
Apple,
the right thing there. And I think for me, having spent some time in the pleasure of Microsoft, I worked for them for a bit as well. That Microsoft talk about services way more than they talk about hardware. Hardware exists in Microsoft's world to facilitate services. So Game Pass and things like that are really the move into. They're not even necessarily interested in taking market share from Nintendo or from Sony. I think they will obviously want to, but the biggest thing is to get you on a recurring revenue stream so they can. Hence the reason, a few years ago when everyone's laughed at them, went, "Oh, they're not reporting numbers sold anymore." They're like, "No, because the engagement of people on the platform is a metric for how much money we make off those people. Realistically, it's because at the end of the day, let's not lie about it. It's about money, right?" And so when Microsoft say we want them on Game Pass spending their whatever it is a month, Microsoft look at it like that. It's recurring revenue. They make X amount of money off you per year, and they know what they've got. And long term, that's a much better solution for them. And that's definitely where Microsoft's business model's been for the longest time, is recurring revenue services. You have to look at their how they changed with Windows. When Windows 10 was launched, instead of going, hey, it's a one-off fee of however much, we're going to charge you 70 quid or 100 quid. And nobody did. Everyone just pirated it, right? And Microsoft were fully aware of how much piracy went on. So Microsoft went, yes, free. And suddenly everyone was like, "What? It's free?" And they're like, "Yeah, but you get services, etc." And then they brought everyone into the ecosystem because they knew they wanted to get everyone onto the services. And it's very much where this is going, because it's not just about One S either. It's also Series S. If you talk about Series S, that's the box, right? But you can do all of this, play all the games without a box. You don't need a box. You just need a phone or a tablet, right? And you can go on
xCloud.
And
xCloud.
Right? That's the genius stroke, I think. And you're right about the going in and seeing it. But I think we're going a little bit further with that and saying, right, yeah, we've got this amazing machine at £250 or $299, whatever it's going to thing. But then they've really trumped it by going, oh yeah, but here's a finance way to buy it, which includes Game Pass, and it's next to nothing per month. A very small cost per month, no upfront. I mean, because again, you talk about people at the minute, we're coming out of this back of this, obviously everything's gone on in the world with COVID and stuff. There's going to be a lot of people really squeezed this Christmas, right? And they're going to be having to buy these gifts. And you can suddenly go, well, look, you don't have to spend any money today. It's just £20 a month or whatever it is. And there's going to be so many people who just look at it and go, and you can still play all the games. They're all included.
And you don't even need to buy any additional games, do you?
No.
I think I want to
all
dip
there.
in again here. They're doing an Apple. So,
Yeah.
Apple did their high-end phones, then they did an SE phone, which was cheap, and it sold really well. Apple did the option to buy an iPhone on a monthly policy. So you could either basically pay, I think it was iPhone, I think it's the first iPhone 10 they did it with. It was like £39 a month or whatever. And you could either pay that for 2 years and you owned it, or you paid it for a year, you give the phone back and you can upgrade to the newest one.
Yeah.
And then Apple have done they did Xbox Game Pass, and then Apple almost went, oh, that's a good idea. They've already copied us, we're going to copy them with Apple Arcade. It's almost like they're taking cues from each other to do the same thing. And
I'll tell you what, Phil.
Sony's off away with the fairies trying to make Now TV work.
On that,
now,
well, I think what they're also we could see with this as well moving forward, and I think a lot of people have talked about this, and I think this is very true. Is we'll see a more sort of frequent cycle of updates on the consoles. So I think Series X will be around for a couple of years maybe, and then look at the end of the couple of years, we're dropping Series X Plus or whatever it is, because the hardware has evolved, and we can do that now. We can bring it at this point, and you just have to renew your subscription, and you've got a Series X Plus. It might not be that simple, but that's certainly something which I think may well come down the line.
It'll have an impact, definitely. And I think the fact it's quite telling that they're not really worried about there being any, I say any sort of AAA release titles. Of course, Halo Infinite has now been delayed till next year. So there's no, there are lots of third-party games, but no big AAA, sort of like in-house games being released. I'm right saying, is that the same for PlayStation as well? Didn't they have a game cancelled as well recently? I can't remember.
They've probably had some cancelled, like stuff getting cancelled.
Because it's not necessarily about those big titles. It's about getting that hardware into people's homes. And once you've got that hardware into people's homes, you've got them as a customer. And it's the service, as you say, Ratley, that you provide keeps them there and keeps them coming back.
I think it's very much, I know Phil Spencer has mentioned it in the past, when he started with all of these studio acquisitions. I mean, they've got 17 first party studios now, and yes, they're not all bringing games out immediately, but we just look at the games that have come out recently. You've had your Wasteland 3, your Battletoads, your Microsoft Flight Simulator, and they've all been within the last sort of month or so, haven't they?
Yep.
And he's very much talked about having a scenario, the perfect scenario, which they're definitely in a place to be able to do it, where they have a first party exclusive game every single month. That's just like having Netflix having the brand new show that comes out. There's always something new that's just around the corner that people are going to keep subscribing, because they've got to keep that content fresh, keep that new stuff coming out, and people will just continue to subscribe. And much to both of your points, Ratley, you're saying, whether that's somebody who just going, oh yeah, I can play that new game on my phone. I don't really game on the telly or whatever, or I don't do that kind of stuff, but I do commute on the train for an hour to work, so it's perfect for me. Or the people like us who have all the latest, gadgets and consoles and stuff, it's going to keep us all engaged and keep us all embedded deep in that ecosystem. And that's exactly what Microsoft want, that continued revenue stream. And if they have to lose a few million quid on those console sales by chopping the arse out of the prices, which is what they've done to kind of help build that market share, help build that brand, they're going to reap the benefits later on. And let's face it, a company like Microsoft, they can, and most definitely can, absorb that kind of loss. They've done it before, and they'll do it again.
Yeah, they have.
As we've always said, Microsoft's a software company, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're a software company, not a hardware company.
I mean, recently they've been getting into hardware.
Yeah, what were you saying, Ratley?
On that, but there is definitely a software first focus. But I mean, the thing I would say is you again, going back to a point I think Alan raised earlier about them trying to steal market share. The clever thing about like xCloud as well is xCloud doesn't even need them to necessarily steal market share to gain customers, right? So I think I keep seeing this argument of, why would I just buy an Xbox? Why wouldn't I play it on my phone? It's like, do that. Microsoft would love that because they're getting your money from your Game Pass subscription either way, and you're playing their games. How do you see this? Not see this as a good thing? Because Microsoft sure as hell do.
Yep.
Yeah, it's people who are very much ingrained into an older way of thinking, whether that be the console war way of thinking. I'm seeing this very much with people now talking about going, oh, I don't, why, the Xbox Series S is only 1440p and this many teraflops. Why don't I keep an Xbox One X, because that does 4K and it's more teraflops and teraflops and all this kind of crap. But at the end of the day, this new technology that's coming out, it's all measured in different ways, and we're pre-programmed to think, look, when the Xbox Xbox One came out and the PS4, it was all about 1080p and 900p. And before that, it was 32-bit consoles versus 64-bit consoles. There's always been a measuring stick, like a yardstick for what's going on. The new yardstick moving forward is all about that. Is FPS, isn't it? It's those frames per second. So that's the new thing they're banging up. We can do up to 120 frames, 60 frames per second. The resolutions with, there's all that deep learning super sampling stuff that's coming out from NVIDIA, where they're doing, they teach, a computer basically teaches itself to upscale images so they're actually better quality than a full native 4K picture. That's the way these technologies are going. So this stuff is becoming less and less relevant, and that's why I think Microsoft are very much cleverly ahead of the curve, whereas they've often been ahead of the curve, but sometimes too far, aka the Xbox One, some of the issues at the start of that. But they're very cleverly ahead of the curve, and they are pushing into that again, like I say, that revenue of that software-based subscription market, and that hardware is supplementing that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think as I've watched many articles about and read many articles about the comparison between the power and the performance of both the Xbox Series X and the PS5, and trying to make comparisons between them. As I said earlier on, I think the end result of that is that okay, so the Xbox Series X has nearly 2 extra teraflops, but the PlayStation has this and that and that. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, because what you're going to get as far as graphical quality and the games, I don't think is going to be very negligible, and you can start looking at point this and point that, and it won't really make that much difference. For me, the only key point I think that the PlayStation may have over the Xbox is the SSD drives. Their SSD drive is twice as fast as the Series X, and I think that's going to be a big point, because one of the things that I know I'm definitely looking at, I'm sure you are, is going to be loading times. It's something that we all complain about constantly, and I think that in fact the SSD drive in the PlayStation 5 is actually the fastest SSD drive ever made, apparently.
There's a lot more to it than that, though.
It's a lot more complex, but I think that's going to be something that I'll be looking at very closely. But again, for me, it's as a hardcore gamer, it's never been about the power, which one's more powerful, because I buy the PlayStation, fanboys will buy PlayStations, and us Xboxers will buy Xboxes. It's just the way it is.
I mean, I think that like you say, the whole console war thing is like the teraflop thing is very much a device of their own creation. Now you think about it, like when PlayStation 4 Pro came around, because they want to find a discernible difference to try and sell you that console. Like, it's got this many teraflops as opposed to the teraflops in this. And then Xbox came along and went, hey, ours has got more teraflops than your teraflops. Teraflop this mofo, and you're like, well, hold on. What? And for most people, like,
what's a teraflop?
So a good example would be, you should
sell terra chopping their teraflops.
Yeah, if you ever sold digital cameras, Phil, you can probably appreciate digital cameras, right? Are sold on megapixels more often than not, and it's such a poor measure of the quality of that equipment, because there are so many other factors into what makes a good camera that, sure, you need megapixels, but if you just talk about megapixels, you're not talking about image quality, you're talking about image size, and people just don't get it.
It's all about the quality of the sensor, quality of the lens. I think the best way I explain that to people, like particularly when selling digital cameras, is it's a bit like when you're driving your car and then you get a load of dirt on your windscreen, and then you keep driving and it just gets worse and worse and you can't see, and then you put your windscreen wipers on and you clean it, well, there's dirt on the window, you're not going to see the same thing, and that's almost like a real world example of like the difference in the quality of the lenses. Like, a low quality lens is almost like a dirty windscreen compared to a high quality one. I did actually want to just circle back around to a point on Alan made about the SSD speed, particularly for the PS5 and actually for the PS4. So I know both me and Craig have played Ghost of Tsushima. Ratley, have you dipped in on that at all?
I haven't, mate. I still haven't pulled the trigger on a PlayStation, purely because for the 2 games I want to play, I just can't justify it. I'm not anti-PlayStation. Let's make that very clear right now. It's just like, it's a lot of money that I don't want to spend on something that's going to get virtually no use. I used to have a PlayStation 3. It barely got turned on. No disrespect to it.
Same here.
There was nothing on it I wanted to play,
Totally the same from my end.
So the point I wanted to try and make on that is that we've been talking about SSDs and loading speeds and this and that, and Sucker Punch, who made Ghost of Tsushima, just redesigned their game to make it load faster. They didn't need, like, the PS4 Pro doesn't have an SSD or any clever technology in there or ES RAMs or anything like that. they just redesigned the game. So, for example, in Ghost of Tsushima, if you die, you reload into the game probably in less than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
using existing...
Significantly less than 10 seconds, I would say. Probably
Yeah,
more
actually,
like
it's
5
probably-
seconds.
Yeah, it's probably more like 5. Whereas, like, if you think back to, say, The Witcher 3, I mean, particularly on the original Xbox, I mean, you were probably talking maybe a minute,
Yeah.
more than that to load.
Yeah, a minute and a half, I reckon.
So,
yeah.
but in essence, what you're saying, Phil, is it doesn't matter how good the SSD drive is. The technology is already there, so they should be able to be bringing out games that the loading times are much less than they are. And if a game comes out that has bad loading times, that's more a fault of the developer rather than the hardware.
Yeah, it's a choice in the design, and
Yeah.
particularly of Ghost of Tsushima, they actually slowed down the load times of the game because they put in tips in the loading screens for you to
You can
read and
read
give you
them.
hints, but it loaded so quickly that people didn't have time to read them.
No.
So if they can do this on the existing technology, and let's be honest, a PS4 Pro is basically built on technology, like 4 years old, maybe older than that. Like I just think things like the SSD speed, they aren't going to be relevant.
I think that's a bit one sort of thing, because there's a lot on like they can do now with an SSD. It's to do with seek times and the way they read information more than it is to do with the flat out speed. Don't get me wrong, having flat out speed is huge, and I think Sony's one is monstrously powerful. And it'll be interesting to see what real world difference that makes, to be perfectly honest, once we get the consoles and we can actually see them. And we might see that Sony's SSD is so blisteringly fast, we all kind of sit there going, holy cow, that's unreal. But yeah, the big thing, I think Mark Cerny talked about this when he talked about the press thing, doing the PlayStation reveal. It's the fact that you don't have to load so much into memory now as well. So the memory can be freer to do other things.
Yeah.
You can just have stuff called from the SSD, and the SSD can behave like memory. And I think that's the big changes are going to be coming in. Not load times will be faster, 100%, but we should see less loading screens. And not only that, we will be able to see like assets called faster. And so
Bigger scale of the world.
One example I used was on Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4, how it has to load in every single mailbox in the city on that. And it'll be the same, say you play something like, I don't know, Cyberpunk in the future. Every single thing is loaded in as a predetermined asset at that point, so it has to be stored on the game at that point as that asset. But if it's a reused asset throughout the game, so for example, I don't know, like say Postbox or a telephone box, instead of having to reload, say this sector contains this and store it as that on the hard drive, you just have one post somewhere that says this is a telephone box, and every time it wants to load a telephone box, it just pulls that telephone box. So the games become smaller, so load times will become shorter anyway. It's a very complicated thing, and I'm not fully au fait and aware of it. But the biggest thing we'll see is less loading screens, better use of assets. It can load bigger assets faster, so we should see better textures, things like that. The tangible difference will be, I think, a lot smaller than a lot of people think, except on old games, because old games won't have any way of taking advantage of all this new stuff because they've all been done, etc. So we will see old games transform in terms of load time. And I think load times on new games will still be very, very short. But I don't think the big advantage in terms of what developers are going to do with SSDs is going to be this load time. I think that's where people get this wrong. And I think there's some exciting stuff. And I think we're going to see some changes to games, definitely.
There's some other things to take into account. Things like the variable rate shading that's available on these new consoles as well. I don't know if you've looked into that much, but where effectively these systems are smart enough to be able to purely load in the textures that are visible to the player at that time, and because they can grab, like you said, from that as a hard drive almost as quick as they can from memory, it just means these boxes have almost got terabytes of RAM almost. That's kind of how it's working. I just wanted to again just go back a little bit when we were talking about the speed of the PlayStation 5 SSD. The problem you've got, and I find again we haven't really seen flat out examples of how blisteringly fast it is. By spec wise, yes, it is very, very fast, but it's a proprietary piece of hardware that's purely for a PlayStation 5. So the chances of for example, a Ubisoft or an EA being able to actually make benefit of that extra speed is very unlikely, because they're making games for a PC, for an Xbox, and for a PlayStation. So you might have a PC with an NVMe drive and an Xbox with an NVMe drive, and then PlayStation have got one that's that bit faster. They're not going to be able to reprogram it specifically just to take benefit of that faster SSD. Yeah. And again, to another point that we mentioned, these games in the future, once we really are pushed into the next generation, they're not these games are unlikely to have load times. It might be loading the game up, and then you're not going to see another load time. So it almost becomes a little bit irrelevant that way.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think moving on from that point, there's another point that I was thinking about as far as comparing the PlayStation to the Xbox Series X is going to be backwards compatibility. And I think that Xbox are definitely taking the right route. And I know that they burnt their fingers for the Xbox One launch when that backwards compatibility wasn't in there, and they've kind of finally got it implemented for only selected titles, but they have slowly gone all the way back to the original Xbox titles, and they're all available under Game Pass and on the store. And I think that for me, that's another big selling point for the Series X over the PlayStation, is the fact that you will be able to buy a Series S or a Series X, and you will be able to play any Xbox game, as long with the caveat that it is a backwards compatible already all the way back. So you've got 4 generations of consoles of games available to you from the get-go on the Xbox Series X, whereas the PlayStation 5, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it will have some limited backwards compatibility with some titles from the PlayStation 4. And I also understand that the Xbox, you won't have to rebuy titles, which and I can affirm, and I'm sure you have, when changing over from the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One, I had to rebuy titles such as, let's talk about it, Skyrim, Grand Theft Auto. These titles I bought 2 or 3 times because of remasters, but also because of console changes. So I think that's a big deal, because if you get an Xbox Series X, you can play all of your previous games. I don't need to worry about rebuying them. And from Microsoft's sort of game plan, it looks like that's how it's going to be moving forward. So if I've bought a game, I don't have to keep rebuying it, and I think that's a big selling point as well.
Yeah.
So Sony have confirmed again that they're pretty much doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I know they said a large number of titles, and then I think they quantified it as something like 1,000 titles at launch, I believe.
Yeah.
I thought
and they haven't said anything about having.
Go on. Sorry, Phil.
Go for it. I was going to say, I think they didn't say anything about having to rebuy any titles. I think, however, that does kind of segue across to the older, the current gen consoles versus the new optimized version of the game, where some companies are charging and some companies are doing it for free. Cyberpunk, for example, is getting a free Series X update, and the like EA, for example, I think you have to buy their ultimate version of the game to get the Series X update and the PS5 update.
Was anybody surprised that EA tried to grab people's money like twice over, really?
Yeah.
EA was doing that.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. We're going to wrap this up a little bit. I'm going to finalise it with a question that just requires a quick answer from each of you. I'm going to go to Ratley first. So, how much do you think the PlayStation 5 will be, the disc and the discless version?
It's a tough call. I think they've got a lot to sort of answer with what Microsoft have laid out, because we know that those boxes aren't going to be cheap. I think Sony are going to come in swinging hard. I don't know if they're necessarily going to match toe for toe, because they know they've got the upper hand in terms of the sort of they've got the juicier apple, as if it were. Just in people's eyes, whether it's true or not, that's just how people perceive it right now. Right, they're the ones to beat. I've got a feeling we're going to see £500, so $600 maybe for a PlayStation 5 with the disc, and without the disc drive, I think they'll probably match the Series X. It'll be $449 here and $499 in the States. That's my gut feeling.
Okay.
And they'll rely on the PlayStation brand and power and their exclusives to push them through. Which I think, to be fair, I think they'll do really well with
that.
So
you're thinking 500 and £550 in the UK for the disc and discless, yeah.
Talking. So they'll match Xbox Series X at the lower point with their discless machine, and they'll go a little bit more expensive with the full blown one. I mean, I can't say they get much cheaper, because that SSD, just talking about that's got to be one pricey bit of kit, like really expensive bit of kit. That's a big chunk of it.
Okay, cool. Right, Phil.
Okay,
give us a couple of numbers.
Okay, so I'm thinking here, again, like you said, I know they had to buy that extra expensive cooling system because of ramping up the GPU clock speed. I'm thinking 500 for the PS5 with the disc, so more expensive than the Series X, and I'm thinking they're going to go $399 for the discless version
Ooh.
to sit it right between the two. So it's they're going to advertise it as like, buy the discless version. It's got the same power as the one with the disc, but it's cheaper than the Series X as the competing product. And then if you want the disc, pay an extra £100 and you get the ultimate experience.
Right. Okay. Cool. Right. So a polarising opinion there. Alan.
First of all, Phil with a polarising opinion. First time ever.
Unsurprising.
I want to keep this short and sweet, but ultimately, I kind of think, as we've already said, I know Microsoft can take the hit. I know Microsoft are willing to take a loss on the hardware to get bums on seats, so to speak. Whereas I don't think Sony are in the same boat. I think they are desperate to keep hold of their market share, but at the same time, I don't think they can drop their price to compete with the Xbox. So I kind of agree with Ratley's proposal, which would be 500 squids for the disc-less version, for the digital version, maybe an extra £50 to £100 for the full whack, £600 for your disc drive included, and everything else.
Cool. Okay, right. Well, we've got some very different prices there. So I guess probably over the next couple of weeks, we'll see who's right, if any of us.
It's remarkable that we are literally less than 2 months away from the release of these consoles, and we still don't have prices. This has never happened before. It's unprecedented. How are you supposed to save up for something when you don't know how much money you've got to save? I suspect they're going on this whole, payment scheme thing and hoping they'll get their sales that way, but it's ridiculous.
Here's one final really quick yes or no. Really quick yes or no. If Sony come out with a cheaper price for the PlayStation 5 than the Series X, do you think Microsoft will clap back and drop it?
No.
Interesting.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think I think. Well, to be honest, when the Series S first got leaked and they announced the price, I was wondering that exact thing because they hadn't confirmed the X price, and I thought, right, are they trying to bait Sony into releasing their price and then they'll do the X price? But then they just came out and did the 449, and I was like, well, maybe not. And I can't see a company like Microsoft going, all of a sudden going, oh, actually, no, it's not 449, it's 399. I just can't see it happening unless they do it through sales or anything. But it just devalues their product. I can't see them doing it.
I feel like they've planted their flag. And that's it. They've got their marketing set
and they're
up.
solid price points, aren't they? I think they're perfectly reasonable. So I don't see any reason why they change it.
If the specs to be believed, I saw a video and some guy tried to price a PC to match it, and he couldn't do a PC for less than 1,000. And it's like, when you look at it like that, when it's double the price essentially to build a PC for the same power. And I know if someone who builds PCs will come on this and go, "Oh, you're talking absolute nonsense. My PC does this, that." I get it. You've probably got some secret sauce, but realistically, there are a lot of value in a box, and I think that's going to be really tough for to go much lower without it being a real problem for them and devaluing it as well.
Yeah, I think there was a leak from Bloomberg, or a report from Bloomberg from some leaked information saying that Sony were having real problems keeping the costs down on a lot of their production due to COVID, and it was costing them £450 just purely to produce the console. That's before shipping, before packaging, before anything else. So if that is ringing true, they who knows what the price is going to be. But again, this stuff is conjecture until we actually get an official announcement. But anyway, so we've had a good long chat on the news there. Normally that'd probably be several points, but it's such big news this week with finally getting a price for these consoles, as Alan said, with only 2 months to go till they come out. It was worth going over in some detail, really.
Great week to launch.
I think what we'll do now is we'll take it. Yeah. I think what we'll do is we'll take a break. And then we'll be back shortly, and I've got a little game for you boys to play. So
I'm so excited.
I bet you are. Let's see you in a minute.
Go back to the shadow. You shall not pass!
Hello, everybody, or nobody again. We're back after the news, and we've got a little bit of fun now. So we're going to play a little game, boys. Are you excited?
I can barely contain my excitement. It's oozing out of every orifice.
Now, knowing all three of you as well as I do, I know that you all are kind of partial to Star Wars, aren't you?
Never seen it.
Maybe.
Star Trek, I love it. Yeah, I love it.
So what we've got is we've got a few little cheeky questions here, and what I want to do is I'm going to read the question out, and the person who says their buzzer first gets to answer the question first. If you get it wrong, I'm then going to hand the question off to the next person and the next person, unless it gets to the point where nobody gets it right, and then we'll just put the card away. Okay? Now, you all need to pick your own buzzword. I'm going to go to Phil first. What's your buzzword going to be?
Sausage.
Sausage. Okay, cool. Right. Alan, what's yours?
Boom, baby.
Boom, baby. All right. And Ratley, what's yours?
Batman.
Batman.
Don't you want to be more modern and cool and go for I'm Vengeance?
Good that you get Christian Bale voice so you can't understand what I'm actually saying. Go.
Where are the other drugs going? Right. Okay. So here we go. Round 1, question 1. So there's 5 questions in a round. Okay. Are you ready, boys? Here we go. Right. So the first one is, which bounty
baby.
hunter? Alan?
He's going to answer it without the rest of the question.
I was just testing to see if my buzzer worked, but I'm going to go for Fett, Boba Fett.
Is incorrect, I'm afraid. So it's just down to Phil and Ratley. Which bounty hunter does Han Solo run into in the Mos Eisley
Sausage!
Cantina? Phil.
Greedo.
Man!
Is correct.
I should have waited. And he definitely shot first.
I was too busy laughing.
He's one of them who wears that t-shirt. Right, question 2. When Obi-Wan Kenobi says, "You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy," what is it? Phil.
Tatooine, the planet.
Is incorrect, my friend.
Moss Eisley.
No,
baby.
It was no. Ratley had already done his after Phil.
It was Mos Eisley.
Mos Eisley is correct.
Tatooine. Mos Eisley's on Tatooine.
Yeah, it was on Tatooine.
But he's not talking about
He's talking about
Tatooine.
Mos Eisley on Tatooine, not the whole of Tatooine.
But it's all hive villainy and scum.
Here
But
it
okay,
goes.
carry on.
Here goes Phil.
Oh, not competitive at all, are you, mate? Right, question 3. Are we ready? Okay, so in which film does Jabba the Hutt try to feed Luke Skywalker to the soul punishment? That was Phil.
Episode 6.
Which is what?
Oh, as in the specific name of it.
Yes.
Oh, now I've panicked, and I'd love this.
Boom, baby. Boom, baby.
Oh, give me a sec.
Gonna have to push up.
Come on.
I've genuinely forgotten the name. I
Okay,
panicked.
Alan.
I'll just go for it.
Return of the Jedi.
Yes, Alan, that's
Phil.
right. Oh, Phil,
Let
you
me
let
sit
yourself
down there.
down
I
there.
panicked.
I'm
Philip
disgusted.
Quick
Thomson.
drawed, and then I panicked.
Dear Lord.
Oh.
Right, question 4. Who delivers a frozen Han Solo to Jabba
Boom,
the
baby.
Hutt? That is Alan.
I've completely forgotten.
Sausage.
Wait a minute. Hang on a second. Give us a chance. I'm going to go with Princess Leia.
Is incorrect.
She saves him. I know. Couldn't remember.
Right, who was next?
It was me.
Me, I hope.
It was me.
Go on, Ratley.
It was Boba Fett.
Boba Fett is correct. Well done, mate. Well done. Fantastic stuff. So, and question number 5. What is Han Solo's home world called?
Swindon.
That film sucks.
Sausage.
Right, go on, Phil.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark here. Oh.
I'm looking
No,
at
I
the
forgot.
hands.
I'm gonna go with Alderaan, but I'm sure it wasn't that because I can't remember from
That
the
was
Solo
Leia.
movie where they started.
Leia's home planet is
Yeah,
Alderaan.
that was Leia from there.
I don't
Anybody
know.
else want to take a punt?
I haven't got a clue.
Okay. Right. Well, it was Corellia.
Of course it was.
Oh, yeah, of course. I knew that all the time.
Of course it was.
Okay, so the scores after round 1. We have Ratley on 2, Longfangs on 1, and Speedfreakphil on 1. So Ratley's in the lead currently.
Pressure!
Okay. Right, round 2. Okay. Which bounty hunter finds Han Solo on Cloud City?
Batman!
Ratley?
It's Boba Fett.
Yes, it is Boba
It is,
Fett,
but
correct.
I sat there and I thought it's Boba Fett. No, it can't be Boba Fett. And then you went Batman. I was like, oh.
Okay, right. Question number 2. Who says to Boba Fett, no disintegrations?
Batman!
But hold on.
What?
Alan, are you saying Batman?
I said Batman, yeah. I meant Boom Baby, obviously, but I was first, and either way.
You were first,
But
yeah,
wrong
but it isn't
keyword.
Batman. But yeah, go on.
Darth Vader.
Is correct.
Yeah.
Well done.
Wait a minute, just a second. That's my best impersonation. So that's the best I can do.
Okay, this one is a tough one. What kind of jetpack does Boba Fett use?
Boom Baby.
Go ahead.
Series S.
No, I'm afraid not, my friend. No. Anybody else want to have a go?
Batman!
Sausage.
It's a Mandalorian backpack. That's about all I know.
Yeah, no, that's the wrong one, I'm afraid. Phil?
Isn't it an ARC Trooper's jetpack?
It's actually a Z6 or Z6 if you're from the States.
Yeah.
So nobody got that one, I'm afraid. That's a tough one, that is.
Yeah.
Right. Where in Slave 1 does Boba Fett put Han Solo's
Batman!
frozen body? Ratley.
Put Captain Solo's body in the cargo hold.
He did put it in the cargo hold, correct. Fantastic stuff. Well done.
Can we do the quiz on Lord of the Rings next time?
Mate, we'll mix it up. This is just Star Wars this time round. We can maybe do a Star Trek one as well. And then Phil, we'll do one on like anime girls or something for you.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, yeah.
Right. And yeah, question number 5. Why does Darth Vader place Han Solo in the carbon freeze?
Batman!
Sausage.
That was Alan first.
I've got no idea.
Come on, I must have jumped in next.
Wait a minute. I've got this, guys. Okay. So, Boom Baby, to keep him fresh.
No, that's incorrect.
Okay.
I think it was Phil next.
It was, yeah. He put it in there to test it to make sure it wouldn't kill Luke.
That is correct, mate. Fantastic.
That is bang on.
Well done, Phil.
Yeah.
Well done, mate. Well
nice.
done. Brilliant. So that's round 2 over. So after the end of round 2, the total scores are Phil on 2, Alan on 2, and Ratley on 4. Yeah. That's good stuff.
Batman's having a seizure, apparently.
Yeah. Right. Round 3, question 1. How many more seasons does Owen Lars says he needs Luke to stay on the farm?
Batman!
Sausage.
And that was Alan saying Batman again.
I keep saying Batman. I just like it. It's better
So
than
surely
mine.
that gets me ahead of him.
Okay,
No.
so 2 seasons.
Is incorrect.
Damn it.
Batman!
Can I go now? Because I was second.
Yeah, Phil was second.
I'm pretty sure he only asked him for one more season, which
That
would
is
put back
correct.
his application to flight
I'd just
school.
like to point out, for fairness sakes, and I don't want to take this away from you, Phil, but Ratley did say Batman at exactly the same time I did. The problem is that because of his mic issue, he was quieter than I was. So you couldn't hear him. So in fact, he would have been second,
Alan?
but it's fine.
Alan, it's very noble of you, sir, but I would have got that completely wrong anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Fair enough.
Also, can't you see the spikes on there on the recording?
Mate, I tried.
That's what
I
Craig-
tried
All right,
to look at that.
all
I
right,
tried
children. All right,
I can't,
let's
I
move
can't
on.
look in enough places at once.
You got the point, Phil. Let's move on.
Thank you.
Right. Question number 2. What is Owen Lars' job on the dry desert planet of Tatooine?
Batman!
Sausage.
That was Phil.
He's a moisture farmer.
You
That
what?
is correct, Phil.
It was-
Oh, he's pulling
I was
it back.
miles ahead on my screen.
Not on mine. Oh, maybe there is a delay on here. Maybe this doesn't work doing it this way.
Right, I'll just jump in sooner then.
Oh.
I'll just run the Alan school of guessing. Just shout at the beginning of the question and play the guy to get a random Star Wars
It
character.
got me through college.
Right. Who says of Luke he's got too much of his father in him?
Batman. Damn it! I got to say something. Batman.
Yeah, Alan
Boom Baby. And I believe it was Obi-Wan Kenobi.
is incorrect. Ratley, you were next.
It was Yoda. No, it
Is
wasn't.
incorrect.
Was it? Oh,
Phil?
Okay, repeat the question again. Who says?
So, who says of Luke he's got too much of his father
I
in
know
him?
where it is. Oh.
Oh God. Give me a
You have to push for an
sec.
answer.
Jar Jar Binks.
I can give you the answer if he doesn't get it.
Sorry, Phil,
Was
we
it
took too
Obi
long.
Wan?
No,
No.
it's Baru Lars.
Did you
No.
already say Obi Wan? I think I.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
it was Barulars, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Okie
Kicking
dokie.
myself
Right.
now.
Okay, so question number 4. So we've got 2 questions left to go, and currently we've got Alan on 2 points, Phil on 4 points, and Ratley on 4 points. So it's getting tight here. So we could, if Alan gets both of these, we could have a 3-way tie, or it's just a battle for first place.
3-way. Like it.
Right. What astromech droid does Owen Lars purchase before choosing R2D2? Another hard one.
Better man.
Go for it.
R4D4.
Oh, mate. That's so close. So close. You know what? I'm going to give you that. Because there's no way in hell I thought anyone would get it. It was R5D4.
Oh, I
I'm
knew
gonna
it
give
was
you that.
D4, but
I'm impressed that you knew that.
I'm not going to quibble giving him that point. That was very impressive.
Yeah. That's bonkers. That right. Okay. And question number 5. What does Owen Lars tell Luke Skywalker his father had been? What does Owen Lars tell Luke Skywalker his father had been?
Batman.
Go ahead, Ratley.
I think he tells him he was a pilot.
No. That's incorrect. Anybody else want to take a stab? It's a tough one again. It's quite specific.
Boom Baby. I'll go for Smuggler.
No.
Sausage?
Did you want to have a try, Phil? Go on, sausage.
Did he tell him he was a soldier?
No, afraid not. He told him he was a navigator on a spice freighter.
Oh, of course he did.
So, because nobody got that final question, the final scores are 2 to Mr. Longfangs, 4 to Mr. Phil, and our winner for the first week on our podcast is Mr. Ratley with 5 points. Woo! Well done, mate.
I'd like to thank the Academy, all of my friends and family, God and Jesus, and all the people who made this possible.
And clearly Christopher Nolan. Batman!
Phil's been very quiet in the background there. I think he's feeling a little disgruntled there. Sorry, Phil.
Oh, deeply hurt. It was that question 4 where he gave it to you anyway.
Oh, mate.
I like a straight game here. If it's not right, you just don't get a point.
So, give us a tiebreaker then. Let's go for it. Go for it, Phil. Come on, bring it.
Do you want to do a tiebreaker? All right, let's do it. Hold on. I'm going to get
I wasn't
another
that disgruntled that I had to have a tiebreaker, but sure, why not? It's all good fun.
All right, I'm grabbing a random card.
Hang on a sec. Where's he getting these cards?
It's must say, where's he get the questions from?
It's a game. It's a bought game. He's not just made these up.
I've got a little box. I've got a little box of yeah. Right. Okay. Let's have a look what we got here. Okay. Right. So this is just for Phil and Ratley. Okay. Which part of R2D2? Which part does R2D2 reattach to C-3PO's body during the Battle of Geonosis?
Sausage!
That was definitely Ratley there.
It's his head.
Damn it.
It is his head. So twice Ratley is the winner. So are you going to dispute that one, Phil, or is that okay?
A fine victory, sir.
Thank you, man.
Fine victory. That was a clean and clear victory. I'll give him that one. You earned that one.
Yeah.
Oh, great stuff. Right. Did you enjoy that, boys? Was that a bit of fun?
It makes me want to go back and watch all the Star Wars films again, quite frankly.
Yeah.
To be fair, Alan,
half of them, I was like...
Alan, after that form, you
don't
need to go watch them again. Mate,
Yep. Ashamed of myself. Ashamed.
Well, fantastic. Well, I think that just pretty much wraps up the first episode. I think I've had a great fun. I think you boys have had great fun as well. And
Definitely.
so the plan is to do these every week. So this should hopefully be up online, barring any kind of technical issues, on Saturday evening. So again, we'll plan to get them up every Saturday so people have something to listen to. Or again, like I say, nobody will have something to listen to. Anyway,
at least we'll have something to do for 2 hours on a Friday evening.
Exactly, because we've got really exciting lives and lots to do outside of it. So it's a goodbye from me. It's a goodbye from the boys. Say goodbye, everyone.
Batman.
Sausage.
Evening.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.